Hi, this is Matt from Working FinTech, and today we are delighted and super excited to be joined with William Entriken. He's the lead author of ERC-721. That's the document that started NFTs as we know them today, and also the vision of where it's going to go. He's a developer, a researcher, has been involved in M&A, and also has collaborated with companies like Apple and government institutions like the FBI and the SEC and loads of other cool stuff we're probably going to hear about. And we're also joined today with Benyamin Ahmed, who's the chief evangelist of Working FinTech, most commonly known for the creator of the Weird Whales NFT project, where he netted over $200,000 in one evening. And then over the last year, as his different NFT collections he's been involved in have netted over 20 million in transaction volume of sales. So we've got some real NFT heavyweights here, which we're really excited about. So William, welcome. And over to you, Ben. You've got tons and tons of questions for William.
Yes, so thank you for being on the show, William. And to start off the questions, I'd like to ask you, what did you study and how did you start your career?
I was studying computer engineering and electrical engineering for undergrad, and then math as a minor. And then for grad school, I got into finance and then MBA for international business. So finance and international business as a master's, and then MBA at the same time. So this was school. School's not important. So getting to the career part, as this was happening in the first half, while I was doing engineering, I was also working at the Navy, at the U.S. Navy, as an engineering apprentice. So there's an engineering program where you're learning and working at the same time, and it's a great title, apprentice. I mean, I was working on ship systems, so different things on the ship, embedded systems, maintenance systems. And so this was really great to go straight from, a little bit of school to production environment on a warship. And I got to go on some model ships, and it was really a great experience to work with a team like that. The second half, I've been working in finance. So I've been working in mergers and acquisitions, M&A, and I've been actually working from the inside. So not one of those firms that shoves these deals together, but the team who either decides whether to go through with it or has to clean up the mess after you've integrated, as you're integrating. So I've been through the whole life cycle of bringing companies in, deciding, valuing, reorganizing, synergies, which is a sensitive word, and then all these ways. In the meantime, I've also worked with Google, and they put me on open source. So I picked up open source from high school. I just found Linux, and I found, this is a CD you can put in your computer, and now you're not running Windows anymore. That's the initial attraction, like, oh, I'm different. And, honestly, Mac has really taken a lot of that. Mac took a big bite out of that. It used to be just Windows was everything, and then there was this counterculture that was Mac. And Mac is really a lot larger than amount of counterculture now. And Linux was kind of that too, and is that now. So you can do this thing that's a little different, and then you're cool because you're different. But I actually picked up on the open source part of it. So from the day one when I was using Linux, I found the community, the people that, if you have a problem, the support's different. So if you've used a Mac, you know that there's a special phone number, they still have it, and they'll help you. And Dell, IBM, or Lenovo, there's different. You can get help, but it's kind of more corporate, and that they're getting paid. But open source, they're not getting paid, so it's just a totally different type of engagement, and they appreciate a lot more when you give feedback. So that's when it clicked for me, and so from the very beginning, I was on to open source, and then when I worked with Google, they actually put me into a formal program. Now it's called Summer of Code, so I was in the first one, and now it's called Summer of Code. But I was working on Linux on an open source project with a mentor, remote work. This is back in 2005, long before pandemics and all these things. But I was doing remote work, from the beginning, and it was such a great experience that I really took that with me. And you could say that's my education and career background, leading into blockchain.
Just going back to one of your comments, you said that school is not important. And is that when you started playing around with Linux yourself, when you kind of were looking things outside of the normal curriculum of things?
Well, anybody who has their own business or has gotten to a point in their career where you're not like fighting with other people, you know, you're not in the rat race, you quickly realize that if you just knew one or two things enough to make money, that the school is really not the important part. I did actually get a lot from school, but it can be a distraction.
And why'd you say it's a distraction?
Well, a lot of people are there, they don't know why they're there, and you know, don't let school get in the way of your learning, right? So the purpose of school is to mostly for yourself to see what you don't like. That's a very valuable thing. And then to find the type of people that you like. It's a great opportunity to live with lots of people, which will prepare you for getting married and for relationships in life. You know, living with 20 people over the course of 4 years is a quick way to know, you know, who you might want to spend the rest of your life with. It's a very important thing, but you know, you don't need to go to school to do that. You can just go on Craigslist and find roommates all the time, which I've done too. But yeah, I actually got a good experience out of school, but it can be very distracting. So if you pay attention to what other people are doing there, a lot of people are on the wrong track, especially in undergrad, because most of those people won't make it. Sorry.
That's very interesting. Yeah, no, that's good. Like, don't let school distract you from learning. I'm writing that one down. So moving on to NFTs, right? Can you explain what the ERC-721 paper is and why it's important?
So ERC-721 is the idea of NFTs on blockchain codified. So it is a specification. So it's an RFS. It's an agreement between producers and consumers of NFTs. So you want to make an NFT and you want it to work with a wallet, and those two things need to connect. The picture, the grooves, the wires, the USB-C connection, that's ERC-721. And that explains everything that you need to do to connect. So a lot of people read it and they think, oh, well, this is what an NFT is. That's a different way to say it too. But really the connection is the important part, because there's NFTs everywhere. There's NFTs in my wallet. You know, your driver's license is probably an NFT. Your title to your car is an NFT, or a house. So these things are NFTs, but they don't connect to Ethereum or MetaMask or OpenSea or Rarible. These connections are what this is all about. And these connections are what allow us to build things together and very quickly. So I think that there's the concept of NFTs, which is really cool. And we're actually still pushing. We're still teaching people. We're still defining what are the concepts that matter. But for today, you know, when the rubber hits the road, when the wheels are turning, you want the car to go forward. And so this traction is created by the NFTs that we're making being available for sale. Benyamin created an NFT collection. What he did not create was a marketplace. And so the marketplace got a cut of all the money that you made, right? And so the go-to-market was faster. So the fact that you were able to build and sell without building, and then also needing to make a place to sell. Oh, and PS, and finding people that want to buy and creating connections, and you know that's a very large ask. So the distribution of labor here is that you only focused on the creation, and the other people did the other stuff, and that really benefited you. You know, I'm president company here, and it's benefited a lot of other people that we don't see on this call. So ERC-721 is the specification. Like it is a specification, but basically it is the one where people are using it to create NFTs, connect to NFTs, and to build things with lots of parts all working together.
And how did you end up writing this paper and becoming the lead author? What was the aha moment that you saw that made you think about creating a standard?
I didn't create it, and I didn't write the paper, so I'm the lead author. So there's multiple authors. The creator is Dieter from CryptoKitties, formerly Axiom Zen, then Dapper Labs, part of Flow, all that. But he started this project, and he had two things going on. He had CryptoKitties and the specification telling other people how to make NFTs. And these are both cool projects, and one of them kind of got a lot of attention and required a lot of work quickly. That was CryptoKitties. Basically blocked Ethereum network. It was just so many people were using it. It literally just took down Ethereum. So that kind of became his focus, and ERC-721 was not. Many people had opinions on this stuff. There were different versions, flavors, competing papers, and this was the landscape when I walked onto the scene. And so I saw this. I saw CryptoKitties. I saw the pictures of the cats, and I was very inspired because I saw a lot more. I saw some of the stuff we're starting to do now. This is the vision. So I saw where this is going to go, and then I looked. So I saw this. I got inspired, and then I got back on the ground again, and I saw who was involved. Who are the people that are actually, touching, getting excited about this today? And basically, everybody was probably 80% were crypto, other animals, 2 eyes and a mouth, profile photos, a lot of that stuff. And I said, you don't get it. Like, this is way bigger than that. Yeah, they were very excited. They're like, oh my God, CryptoKitties is making millions of dollars. Millions. I could do that too. I can retire off of that money. And I'm like, that's small thinking. Like, we're doing more than retiring here. We're changing the world. And so I thought that 2 things. One, the vision was missing. And so that's something I had, and I really had to communicate this different ways. Through this paper, through interviews like this, still going strong 4 years after ERC-721, through all these things. And then 2, the amount of effort that was going into ERC-721 was here, and what we needed was like off the screen. So we've really needed a lot of hard work to get this done. And then I guess a bonus third point is that there was a lot of people that didn't agree. So there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. And so I said, actually, this is something I've experienced with from open source from a long time ago with Google. Actually, the US Department of Defense does open source. That's an interesting thing. You could imagine military stuff going on. Yep, they do it. And I thought, okay, well, if I can work on Linux and I can work on military open source projects, I think I can handle blockchain. And NFT is actually my first project. This is my ERC-721 is my first thing in blockchain. And so I said, okay, well, the problem here is the vision, the communication, and the getting the people to agree on something, the leadership. And I saw those were the pain points, and that's exactly where I can contribute. So that was my platform. I said, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to get this passed quickly, and I'm going to I'm not going to get everyone to agree, but I will at least hear everybody. Hearing is an important value proposition. And that was it. Once I said those 3 things, basically I self-nominated, or whatever the voting or consensus mechanism is, they put my name at the front of the paper. That's what happened, and which got other people to work with me as opposed to want to compete with me. That was the selling point. That's how you become the lead author of a paper that you didn't start.
Yeah, that's quite an amazing story, William. So let's go to the basics. How would you explain an NFT to someone new who has no idea about blockchains and crypto?
We're speaking in English, so this is easy. NFT, so I'll just tell you the words. It's non-fungible. That just means it's a serial number. That's what it is. You've seen a serial number before. Anything that you buy that's expensive has got a serial number on it. There's a phone, my computer. These have serial numbers on them, drugs, stuff like that. And then token, literally in English, just means something that's worthless. Why would people want worthless things? Because they represent something else. So NFT is just a worthless thing with a number on it. That's what an NFT is. And so there's no blockchain, there's no, crypto anything. But NFTs have been around for hundreds of years. So NFTs is anything with a number that's stupid. For example, your driver's license. Your driver's license or your student ID or your whatever license is a number. Usually it's a number. It might have the letters in it. Your passport and your face. And why is that? Why is your passport an NFT? Well, the number represents you. This stupid piece of paper represents you. And actually, it's not really representing you. It's representing the government acceptance of you. So it's a driver's license, not an ID card. It's a license to drive. And it's just a stupid number on there. And when you get pulled over by the police, they type that number in to look you up. But that number represents the government's authority in permitting you to drive. licensing you to drive. That's an NFT. Happens to be we've used different ways of NFTs. We use NFTs to track sale of houses. So you get a title, or it depends on where you are now. We're maybe in the US, and depending on states, probably anywhere except Indian reservation. So in a state, you would get a title. Basically, this is done at the local level, and the local, some type of property authority will track who owns what lots of land, and then they'll usually have parcel IDs, their numbers, and then you'll get a piece of paper that says, the government has conferred to you the exclusive usage of this land. Maybe there's some caveats. But again, the house is important. The paper is an NFT. Why is the paper valuable? Well, you can use that paper to tell the police to get other people off your property. So now all of a sudden that paper is valuable. So Benyamin's selling some pictures of NFTs. They're selling some pictures using NFTs. Well, the NFT in this scenario is just the number. Under the authority of Benyamin and what chain did you launch on? Of which chain?
Ethereum.
On mainnet, yeah. So according to Ethereum mainnet and Benyamin's authority with his private key. Now I'm just adding some, mumbo jumbo and some technology here, but same thing. Because of Benyamin and Ethereum mainnet and a bunch of rules, this thing called the yellow paper, we confer to you this picture. It's equivalent to the local government of New York City, or I guess, Kings County, giving you this plot of land. Same exact thing. Same thing happening, different technology underneath it. That's exactly how I define NFTs, how I explain it to people that don't know what it is.
Yes, so William, why do you think so many people are skeptical when it comes to NFTs, especially some communities like gamers who you'd think they would love to own digital assets that are interoperable across different games and platforms, yet they seem to dislike NFTs? What's your take on this?
Great question. So there's two things going on here, NFTs and NFTs in games. NFTs in general, obviously the front page of all the newspapers is these things are trading for a lot of money, and something started at zero and now it's worth more than anybody has bought, more than most people have spent any amount of money on a thing in their life for, and that's creating a lot of emotions. So some people are thinking, wow, I missed out on that. Maybe they're feeling salty and they hate it because they didn't get in. Or maybe people just think it's nonsense. They think, what is the point of all this money, with artwork? I don't really try to judge like that because people have been spending ridiculous amounts of money on artwork for quite a long time now, thousands of years, maybe. And so I don't think people doing this digitally is any different than people spending a ridiculous amount of money on an oil painting. You got some paintings behind you there. Those are worth something, right? But I see in your background, you got a picture of a plant, maybe. Yep. So, what's it worth to me? What's it worth to you? That's always going to be subjective. So, people are going to have different opinions on that. And who are we to say? Now, there's another part of it where some NFTs, the projects in general, I think are really doing a disservice. They're maybe telling people to expect to gain money, or they're saying it as an investment. NFTs are not investments. Artwork is not an investment. If people are selling artwork as an investment, that's a problem. Artwork is artwork. If you happen to make money off of selling shoes or art or secondhand cars, you could have bought a Tesla, 2 years ago, Model 3 for $35,000 plus whatever, and you could sell it right now for $50,000. But I don't think people walk around thinking of Teslas as investments. People buying in 2019 weren't like, I'm going to buy a Tesla as an investment so that I can flip it 2 years from now. But a lot of NFT projects are saying that. They're saying specifically, you want to buy this so that you can flip it. You want to stake it. There's a guaranteed return. There's a guaranteed APY. We're going to buy this back from you 20% more than we sold it to you. All these are probably fraudulent. They're probably illegal in many jurisdictions. And so these are the types of things that I'm also skeptical about, and I would like to see stop. I'd like to see them investigated, shut down by different governments or whatever. People find, people should get in trouble for that. And the reason why this is not kosher is because people get hurt. Some people out there think, oh, if it's on the front page of the New York Times, NFTs are on the front page of the New York Times, and I type NFTs into Google, and the first thing that comes up says guaranteed 20% return, and this is a company that's registered in the United States, and I bought the tokens using Coinbase, which is on NASDAQ or NYSE, one of those, I should expect 20% return. That's a pretty reasonable assumption. You saw something on the front page, you used the search engine, it's a publicly listed company, it's in the United States, and then you lose all your money. So that's the problem. Who fixes this problem? Regulators. So this is the asymmetry here. People think that they're signing up for something legitimate, they're not getting it. Especially people that are vulnerable, people that don't have, an extra $1 million to throw around, are taking a loan against their house because they expect a guaranteed 20% return on that. It's a serious problem. That's a good reason to be skeptical. We've also got play to earn, which is a serious problem. Play to earn is probably illegal. So the word earn, I've never met a play to earn project. This is a common word in NFT, but we're trying to get rid of it. I've never seen a play to earn project where you have to upload your tax forms. So there's 0% tax compliance. So I think that I'm skeptical of those things too. So I'm skeptical right there with these people, these straw men that you put up. But yeah, and so the other thing is, something else to be skeptical about is I've seen that sometimes people are advertising, oh, we're going to use NFTs so that you can buy something in one game and you can put it in another game. This is not an NFT problem, so I'm going to explain this real fast. You can't take a Twitter post and comment it Facebook. You can't do that. Why? Let me ask you, why can't you do that? Why can't you take a post that you made on Twitter and comment on that post in Twitter and have the comments go back into Twitter? Sorry, have the post on Twitter, comment on Facebook, and see those comments back on Twitter. Why can't you do that?
Because they're two companies with two separate databases which don't share information.
I don't think the database is the reason. They are two different databases. I've seen databases collect in magical ways. I've seen people connect, if this, then that, right? You can connect lots of different things together. So what's the real reason here?
Because I don't want you to.
I don't want you to. Right. That's the reason. So NFTs don't change that. So some people think that, oh, NFTs are magic. NFTs are connected. You buy an NFT here, you can sell it there. That means they're connected. Okay. But games aren't connected. Games are made by different people. Games are all-encompassing experiences. That's like someone saying, oh, these are apps. We've got apps now. So I can just take an app on my iPhone and put it on Android. That's not really how it works. You usually have to rebuild your app. So these are different playgrounds. And NFTs don't necessarily magically solve that problem. And so sometimes when people see the NFTs from the outside, they don't have one, they don't play these games, and they're like, NFTs are promising guaranteed returns. They're promising to solve the Facebook Twitter problem. They're promising to solve world hunger, peace. All these problems are just going to go away with NFTs. They're like, yeah, this is BS. I'm right there with these people. So yeah, there's a lot to be skeptical about. And that's because people are just making ridiculous product claims that are not going to happen.
Yes, so I think you summed it up quite well there. Let's move from NFTs to more chains. What are your views on Ethereum compared to other chains like Solana, for example?
So Solana is totally different. Also, Near is totally different. Tezos is totally different. And then we've got things that are like Ethereum. So we have to keep saying Ethereum a few times. I'm not endorsing Ethereum. I'm just saying it's there first and it's large and many things are based on it. So that's what we have to compare to. We can compare to Avalanche, or we compare to Binance Smart Chain or Tron. They're basically the same thing. They're very similar. The smart contracts are compatible. You can use them across chain. That's why you're seeing cross chain things. Bridges have a lot of problems lately, but they're understandable. They're almost working. They're not gonna work, but right now they look like they're almost working because they're just moving things along related products. Polygon, Matic, Ethereum, Avalanche, Near, sorry, not near, Tron. They're very, very similar. In fact, they're all based on Ethereum Virtual Machine, EVM. Now you got other things like Solana and Mint and Tezos and other projects to come. We've got Bitcoin colored coins, other types of ways that you can do NFTs or other types of smart contracts, and they're interesting. But here's the problem, and here's why also we can put Algorand in that bucket. Here's the reason that I don't say I'm not as bullish. I don't know if bullish is right. I think these would need to, they have a lot more work to do. Let's say that. The reason why they have a lot more work to do is because many of these projects underestimate how hard it is to explain these details to the world. Ethereum people get it. People can quickly understand what's attached to Ethereum, what they can use. People that are writing Ethereum have endless YouTube videos that they can watch and endless events in their city that they can go to learn about Ethereum. Because guess what? Tron's a client of mine. Tron is giving educational series to teach how to use Tron. But they're also teaching you how to use Ethereum because they're the same thing. And also when you learn about Ethereum, you're learning about Binance Smart Chain because they're the same thing. So whenever you learn one of these things, you're learning about all of them. And that is a very strong effect. And that is representing billions of dollars worth of educational material. So if you're going to create something that's not compatible, like Algorand, you better be prepared to have billions of dollars of education lined up. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing Solana coming out with billions of dollars worth of meetups, online high quality education, templates, examples, hackathons, or something like a hackathon. I'm not seeing that. They're there. They might be better. They might be 10 times better. They might solve all the problems. But the awareness is extremely important and it takes a long time. And they're just not there yet. So I'm a very practical person. And so I want to see things that get delivered. And right now, they're just not moving fast enough and big enough to matter. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying anything bad. It's just saying, ask me again in 5 years. After they've had that time to spin up, that's when we can evaluate.
So staying on the topic of chains, let's look at the Bitcoin chain. Why do you think that there's been little development in regards to DeFi and NFTs on the Bitcoin chain?
Well, we have a major part of Bitcoin. What's the biggest application of Bitcoin? So there's two major applications of Bitcoin. You get one of them. Do you know either of them? No worries.
Bitcoin as a store of value and as a currency.
That's right. So that is what it is. But there's two things that are built on top of it. There's two applications on Bitcoin. One of them is Zcash, that allows you to anonymously send Bitcoin using zero knowledge proofs. There's another one, it's way even bigger than that. Lightning. Have you heard of Lightning?
Yes, I've heard of Stripe.
Yeah, so this is a way that you can you can send Bitcoins, but you're not waiting 15 minutes to send it. This is a huge innovation. So this is just a very, very powerful improvement to Bitcoin. It addresses one of the major complaints is that you can't walk into a store and buy something with a Bitcoin on mainnet, on L1. You just can't do it. You're not going to walk into a store and wait 45 minutes to walk out of the store. But if you're online at home, it doesn't matter. The Bitcoin, eventually you get that doesn't matter. And people aren't using it for commerce originally. So they were using it for mail commerce, for illicit things. That doesn't matter how fast the money gets there. But for Lightning, you could pay for gas with Lightning. You can pay for retail transactions. It just works. And so one of the things is it's just working so well, you don't even know about it. That's how well it works. There's not some major fees. There's no staking. There's no guaranteed returns. There's none of that. So you just use it. It works so well. You might not even know that it's called Lightning. You might just think it's Bitcoin and it's just moving fast. The wallet might not even tell you it's Lightning. You might open your wallet and then it's like, oh, send, Bitcoin, and you click it and, it sends within 5 seconds. You're like, oh, my Bitcoin got sent. Well, it got sent to the Lightning Network and it'll settle later. But you're using Lightning. So you are using Bitcoin when you're using Zcash, when you're using Lightning, when you're using Binance, when you lock up your Bitcoin through the Binance bridge. I don't know if that's still operational, but you can put it into Binance and then you can move it around. Ethereum has this too. So you can put it into Coinbase or something, and then you can use the tokens to compound finance or whatever, and then you can do DeFi on top of Bitcoin. So yeah, Bitcoin is a store of value. Yes, it's a currency. This is not legal advice, but yes, it's there. But the smart contracts are using it. So it doesn't matter where the smart contract is. It doesn't matter if it's on Binance or Ethereum or Lightning. It's still using the Bitcoin. And so I would say Bitcoin has been successful remaining as a store of value even through these decentralized applications. Now, technically, you can't do a million things with Bitcoin. You can't yet do NFTs with it. You can do NFTs, but it's a little cumbersome. They don't have standardized NFTs. They don't have a ERC-721 for Bitcoin yet. You can't do like these DeFi things inside of Bitcoin. You can't like trade tokens. There's no other types of tokens. There's no ERC-20s. There's no crack coins inside of Bitcoin where you're just making your own money out of thin air. And so that's kind of a good thing that we don't have that. But it also limits these types of applications that you can make, and also for the better as well.
Yeah, I think that was a great answer. So I think we've had our fair share on chains. Now let's move back to NFTs. I think the future of NFTs definitely bright. I think many NFT use cases still waiting to be discovered. What are some of your favorite use cases of NFTs outside just digital art and collectibles?
One of the best applications I've seen is really simple. It's just POP, proof of attendance. So and you can do these without money. So you could just say, I was there. You show up, you get a token. So this is kind of like a driver's license. Driver's license is sort of like a POP. You have a number, and then you have points on your record. These could be bad things, or you can have endorsements. These could be good or bad things. You can be endorsed to drive a commercial vehicle. So that'd be like a badge. And you could be, having negative points that affects your insurance rates. And so there's different things that can be attached to your license. These are NFTs as well that are attached to your digital identity. It's digital, the numbers, the digits. So you've got a driver's license, which is a card, has numbers on it, and then you've got these NFTs, which are badges that attach to it. So these concepts are not new. And I'm always looking for old concepts because that gives me an idea of what's coming and what's new, because they're just the same things. Business models don't change. So it's the same business model, we're just using new technology. And so I can say, okay, well, if this is working pretty well for the type of identities that we have, we're probably going to see a lot more of this. Now, you're not going to see it on the front page of major newspapers. You're not going to see people trading them for hundreds of millions of dollars. Nobody's going to retire off of this stuff. But it could be really useful. You could get points for doing things. You could get points for sharing things. There's an app I just joined. It's very similar to maybe a community app you're using where you list things for buying and selling, or you can list things for buying and selling. But you can also list things for free locally. You can go pick them up. This is a cool concept. I like to donate a lot of stuff, and so you just list it, and people come and take your old stuff that you don't want, and or maybe you do want it, and you just really want to help somebody. So it builds these relationships between people, and it allows you to share stuff. Because in America, we have too much stuff, and we always want to, avoid throwing it away. And so this is one way that helps that. But here's something that's entirely not financial. We're not selling things, we're just giving things away. We're trying to help people. And that kind of connects to these points, these badges, which are NFTs. Maybe you get points for recycling. Maybe you get points for helping people, community service, or something like that. Maybe you can use these points to get access to an event. Just trying to be generic here. I'm not trying to give the specific examples away, but if you donate to help a community activity, maybe you're going to be recognized with a plaque. So you You go to the local museum, and they've got a new display, they got a new art exhibit, and it makes a lot of money to get that up there. And so the benefactors, there's a plaque, and they're like, this person donated this much, this person donated that much. That's sort of like an NFT, right? And so these people, their name is listed on a plaque. We can use the same concept with NFTs on blockchain to fund other things. We can use them to fund projects. We can use them to endorse people. Endorsing is a very valuable thing because we have this problem in commerce today. It's the 5-star problem. We've got 5-star ratings. They're just completely useless. 5-star ratings entirely useless. And if you've ever seen a 5-star rating on any website that matters, they're not just taking the average of all the star ratings. They're not doing that. They're boosting it. They're using an algorithm to set it. It's entirely opaque. You have no idea what those ratings mean. Amazon's close, where it shows you how many 5 stars, how many 4 stars, how many 3 stars, and you can see the comments. But people know about Amazon comment spam. So I'm very excited about using badges and reputation with NFTs, entirely non-financial. I think this will allow new types of communities to come together. I think this will allow things less like Twitter and more like Discord, where there's smaller communities, but representing and endorsing people inside that community a different way, versus just who's popular or who has the most money to buy robots to follow their account. And I think that's an exciting future. For games, there's also a natural progression to NFTs. I think we will be seeing NFTs in more games, but again, we already have NFTs in games. We've had NFTs in games for decades, where you're buying things and selling them on a digital marketplace that are serial numbered. That's an NFT. Do we need to use third-party marketplaces and blockchain for that? I don't know. Some people will do it. I have a medium level of excitement for that. Profile photos, I have a low level of excitement for that. I think we've explored a lot of animals and things with 2 eyes and a mouth. Kind of hit the limit for that.
And just going back to you said, proof of attendance protocol like POAPs is one of your favorite use cases for NFTs so far. Where we've seen Vitalik Buterin releases, talk about soulbound tokens and identity linking and so on. One thing with the current way that people use POAPs is you could actually transfer them to someone else. Even though I've got this proof of attendance that I went to some ETH conference or something, I could actually send it to someone else if later in time that proof of attendance has some utility in itself, because it may, like you said, it may allow you to receive some airdrop or some free merchandise or whatever it might be. So it actually has some value beyond what it was originally intended for. How do you think the concept of like soulbound tokens or identity linking can be brought to market?
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. The fact that you can trade these popes is an implementation detail, and I don't think they should, I'm less interested in that, because as soon as you can trade it, people will buy them. There'll be a secondary marketplace, and especially if you attach utility to it, that's not going to be a good thing. Well, maybe it's a good thing. That's not a thing I'm as interested in. I'm more interested to know who showed up at a party rather than who bought the tickets of the people that showed up at the party. Totally different value proposition. Soulbound tokens is something that Vitalik has a nice word for. This is entirely part of ERC-721. So if you read ERC-721, you can definitely see that concept that's already there. We've played on this for years. We just call them non-transferable tokens. We didn't come up with the branding for it yet, but soulbound tokens, I have a whole episode on this. I have a whole hour on, should we even have this? Are these good for society or bad? Is the right to be forgotten connected to soulbound tokens? If you can make a soulbound token, you could say something bad. You could dox somebody. And, in the EU, we have this thing called right to be forgotten. And so that's kind of the opposite of a soulbound token, which is permanent on a blockchain. So I just want to compare these two things. I don't have the answer, but I want to study these two things together and kind of really talk about it over and over and see, is there going to be a problem with this? I'm thinking 5, 10 years out, 20 years. Like, do we want these things to be around for 20 years? Would you ever want to revoke one of these things? Would you ever feel bad about sending it and then, not feeling happy about that anymore? Like nowadays, you can endorse somebody. You can endorse a political candidate, and then you can revoke your endorsement. You can say, I like them. Oh, they did something. I don't like them anymore. You can do that. That's not soulbound. That's a 5-star rating. That's an editable 5-star rating. So again, I'm not saying that this is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying you got to compare this. Don't go build this technology that makes soul-bound tokens, and now every time you vote for somebody, it's permanent, regardless of what they do. That's kind of nothing wrong with that, but people might not intuitively understand that as much, because when people endorse something, they don't feel like that's a permanent endorsement. Like when you vote for somebody, you in the United States, where we vote on elections, when you vote, you're like, well, I'm voting now, but I'm just as happy to talk crap about them next year when they don't do what they said they were going to do. Like that's part of voting, lamenting over the decision you made, telling your friends that you made a bad vote. Like that's part of it, not voting for them again. If we were using SBTs for anything, there would never be a re-election because they would automatically win the election because all the votes already went to them. So that's the quote. If you're using SBTs, there are no re-elections. Everybody's always re-elected because the votes are permanent. So we just got to compare these models. What can we use this for? What about diplomas? What about proof of attendance? That makes sense. You can't attend something and then, I didn't attend that. Like you attended it. That's a historical fact. So that's kind of useful. And that makes sense. It's different than voting. It's different than endorsing. You're not getting answers out of me, but you're getting more questions. And we've definitely studied these topics a lot. So I want to just compare these things, and I want to see what are we really making here, and what do we want to use this for?
Okay, so let's now talk about hacks. Almost all of the NFT phishing hacks occur due to the set approval for all function on the ERC-721 contract, and millions have been lost due to this. Could you explain why this was added to the contract, what purpose it serves, and can anything be done to prevent malicious users from exploiting this?
Great question. So maybe more NFTs are lost with bridges, but bridges and set approval for all are definitely the top two. So set approval for all is a mechanism where your smart contract, the place where you got your tokens from, your NFTs, will allow you to authorize those tokens to be used by something else. Typically, it's a smart contract. Typically, it's a marketplace where you want to sell these things. And so a very popular thing is when you receive an NFT that you want to sell it, and so you would authorize it to a specific smart contract marketplace, and then you would go list it for sale. So when you are going to hack somebody, what you would do is you would just convince them to just take all of their tokens and then just give them to you all in one swath. This approval is very important. So this allows you to commit all the tokens that you have to a marketplace at once. This is important because people that want to trade one of their NFTs frequently would like to trade multiple of their NFTs in the same place. So if you're going to use a marketplace and you've got one thing and you want to trade it, yeah, you're probably going to sell your other ones there too. You're not going to like sell this one here, sell this one there, sell this one there. It's a very natural thing. CryptoKitties is one of the a very early implementation of NFT, very similar to ERC-721. And it does not have set approval for all. So if you want to sell your CryptoKitties, you have to authorize them one by one, wherever you're selling them. And so if you've ever sold one of those, you'll know that there's a different pop-up for CryptoKitties. Every time you're selling, you're approving. And if you're using Ethereum mainnet, that means you're spending money every time you want to approve this for sale. And so that adds up. So now every time you're trying to list something for sale, you've got to list it, set a price, and then approve it. And that's a lot of money. You're spending lots of money through all these transactions. Now, when you're using set approval for all, because of the way smart contracts work and some of the magic cryptography, we're allowed to use something called a message. So step one, you approve your tokens that you have into some smart contract, maybe a marketplace. Step two, usually, is that you will sign a message which confirms to the marketplace that your intention is to sell or auction these tokens. And then the smart contract will use whatever bids are available to perform the actions. That's typically how it works. So there's two ways you can get hacked. One is if you set approval for all to the wrong person. So instead of approving a smart contract, you approve an individual or somebody who has control or beneficial access to a smart contract. And basically, you're just giving all your NFTs to that person. That's the first way to lose. The second way to lose is if you set approval for all to something like Seaport, OpenSea, or Variable, or one of the X2Y2, one of the marketplaces, and then you sign one of these messages on those marketplaces to give away your tokens. You can tell which one of these two happened because you can review the things that happened on chain. So this is something that I do. A friend calls me, I'm hacked. I lost my token. Well, how did this happen? I don't know. People have foggy memories. Well, did you click anything? I don't know. Okay, what's your address? And so we're looking through and it's like, okay, well, set approval was run. Did you click that button or did somebody else get your seed phrase? Did they log in as you? And so we want to investigate these details because that's important about how to get them back, or probably not get them back, but how to flag them as stolen, which is something you can do, or how to figure out who took them, or figure out if your other assets are at risk. If you lost these, does it mean you're going to lose your other stuff? That's something you want to know. And so one way is that you're approving it to the wrong place, and then the second way is that you're signing the wrong thing. And so that can be very dangerous because whenever you sign a message using MetaMask or another wallet, it could be very opaque what it is that you're signing. So you might not understand what it is that you're signing. For example, you could sign one transaction, and you can sign one message. There could be one pop-up, and you don't even know why you're getting this pop-up. Maybe the website says, you're going to get a pop-up, click yes so you can sign into the website. You say, okay, you get a pop-up. You click yes. Well, what you've just done, and you just forgot, you saw it, you clicked it, and you forgot it that fast, is that you just authorized any NFTs that you have or will ever have in the future to somebody else. And so you might have even forgotten that you've done this. You might not even have any NFTs. But 10 years from now, when you have a valuable NFT, they can go redeem that and take it away from you. So they're very dangerous, these messages. And so the wallets need to be much more clear about what it is that you're signing.
Would you think it's best practice then over time just to always be changing wallets and moving things around for that reason?
No. I think the wallet's got to get better. So the wallet just has to explain this better and keep people safer. This is definitely possible. There's different UI that we can use, and it just has not been a priority for them. This is not a priority for MetaMask. Making things safer, not a priority for them. You look at their website, you look at the things that are changing, there's a lot that they could do, and the priorities for them is institutional investors, other stuff. Those are fighting words. I've been trolled back by their team, on Twitter when I said that. So that's a bold statement, that they're not taking these things seriously, but it's true. And so there's other wallets out there that are competitive, and a lot of them just are not doing a great job. If you want to move your stuff around to different wallets, there's a few problems. One is that might be your identity. So you might be using that to, represent who you are. You might have logged into Twitter with that account. So Twitter allows you to log in with MetaMask on mobile to display your NFT. Next, it's very expensive to move all your stuff from one wallet to another. It can get very expensive. But if you've made a mistake, that is the only way to resolve it, is to move all your stuff. Also, even after you've moved it, there's not a clear way, we should have one, to denounce yourself. There's no way to say, this is me, and this account shall never be used again. There's no way to say that, right? And so that's a problem. This is called revocation. So you can do this with HTTPS. So if you have a website, you have HTTPS, you have a certificate, there is a way to revoke a certificate. You could say, this certificate has been compromised. I don't know what's wrong with it. Other people might have it. Never trust this again. And so once that revocation has been sent, anybody who knows about the revocation will never use that certificate again, regardless of where it came from. And so obviously you have to get a new certificate at that point. So there should be a way to revoke a Web3, a blockchain account or something. Just revoke it, say this shall never be used again. Now, there's also streams that are attached. So it might be very difficult to even know what your assets are. Moving all of your stuff, you have to move them one by one. It's very expensive. But then, maybe you have royalties attached. Maybe you made an NFT and you're getting a monthly payment. Well, that's a pain to handle. And that's a huge pain right there. And what do you do when those come in? So you've revoked your account. You shouldn't be using it. Now you've got royalty payments. And this could come later. This could come years later. I launched an NFT project in 2018, and people didn't start buying it until 2021. That was, what if my account had been hacked in 2020? I revoked it, and all these people show up in 2021 to use it. That would suck. So I really think we don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater here. We want to have some type of a better product so we can solve these problems. But if you've got to throw out the bathtub, then I'll do it.
Yes, William, you've been really great with your answers so far, and I want to ask you one final question. If you were a young person who was interested in this space, how would you approach the next 5 to 10 years?
I am a young person. I am interested in this space. So for me, I'm thinking long term. There's projects now that are going to come and go. So you've got to position yourself in a way that you're going to be, if you're interested. And when you said for the next 5 to 10 years, that assumes that you're going to be interested in 5 to 10 years, which is different than being interested today, right? So find something that you will be interested in 5 to 10 years, and that might be an intersection. So if you look at Apple and Steve Jobs says Apple is going to be the connection of technology and art. That's what he said. And this is him in 1984 coming out with the Macintosh, or even before that with the the 2SE or whatever. And he's preparing this black and white, not black and white. This was black and white, the first one. And it's black and white, and it's like there's not a lot on there. But he was gearing up for 20 years. Now we have music. Now we have iPhones. All of the art is on phones. So that was a success. But it was a different thing than what was available at that time. So don't look around you. Look beyond. Imagine. Think of what are some of the things that matter to you. For something that I'm seeing a lot of people care about that are young is they really care about climate change. That is one of the top 3 things that I've heard. And people are not really finding the right answer, but they know they're interested in it. They know they're interested in blockchain. They don't know why. They know they're interested in climate change. They don't know how to help, but they're involved, and they're following, they're studying, and these 2 ideas are floating. They're like, how can I do this? That might be you. And so if you've got something that you care about like this, see where this might be in 20 years and just imagine. Do more imagining. Less looking around you. Now, once you have a vision like this, I have my vision, you can have your vision, you want to be positioned. So don't just spend all your time thinking, you also want to start doing. Doing doesn't have to be building. Doing can be reviewing. Doing can be giving feedback. Doing can be teaching. You don't have to know a lot to teach. Look at me. So you can just find the thing that you're passionate about and start teaching. And you say, okay, well, let's say, for example, blockchain and climate change. Okay, well, so you start teaching and say, okay, well, I don't know all of it yet, but I'm going to start teaching. What are your questions? How do we do it? How do we fix the regulation? Is regulation required? Can we do this voluntarily? These are some of the questions. If you're blogging today and YouTubing today about whether climate change marketplaces will be done via government regulation or voluntary markets, if you're that person, you can be 10, you can be 50, doesn't matter how old you are, you can be that person. Just talking about studying the news on should this be done voluntarily or with government regulation. And that could be a first step towards blockchain usage in climate change. Now, meantime, you can be using, you can be doing hackathons, or you can be studying or creating things. That's small time. You got to position yourself for the long term. If you don't have a vision, you're not doing anything for 5, 10 years. You're just getting pushed in the crowd. you're in the crowd and you're in the middle and you're looking at the people around you, you're just in a herd. If you're getting on a ladder and you're looking around, you're mapping out the landscape. That's the visionary. And so even though you're in the herd, if you're moving in one direction, they're in the herd too, so maybe they'll follow you. So that's how you move the herd in a direction. And when you're thinking 5, 10 years, that's what you want to be thinking about.
Fantastic. Thank you, William.
Well, hold on, that's your final question, but let me get a question in.
Yeah,
so Benyamin, what is your direction? You're young people too, right? You're interested in this space.
Yes, so currently I'm just focused on education. I don't want to launch another collection for the sake of it. I don't want to put a project out there. I want to fully embed myself within the space first, understand what the problems are within this space, and hopefully in 5 to 10 years, I'll be able to identify one of those problems, then try to fix that problem, as ideally that's what a business does. I don't want to make a business just for the sake of making a business. I want to actually help people. So that's what I'm looking at the next 5 to 10 years, just keep on learning and sticking with this space.
Do you have, can you focus that a little bit? Do you have at least an affinity towards a specific industry or problem space? Not a specific problem, just a space.
Yeah, so definitely close to Web3, NFTs. I might turn out doing something in DeFi, but just identify a problem somewhere within Web3.
That's too broad. Gonna have to narrow that down over the next 10 years. But yeah, I've heard that a lot. So I would hope that you can, not the technology. Web3 is a technology. Web3 is not the answer to anything. It's just a technology. I hope that you can find something. I hope you can drive up some passion in a specific. I'm saying affinity. So affinity is maybe you like art or technology or clowns, whatever it is that you like. Just find something that you like more than other people, and that you might be able to drum up support for. If you walk into a room and say, Web3, let's do stuff, you get this much attention. But if you walk into a room and you say, I like clowns that are painted blue, you're gonna find other people that like clowns that are painted blue, and you're gonna get their hands up like this too. And even though it's a super niche thing, you're gonna build a community, enough to have a Discord server and enough to do something. So that's where I wanna see you. But if you just say Web3, you get a bunch of other people that their arms are like this. They don't know what that means. It means a lot of things. But I hope you can find something specific. And then once you find the blue clowns, you might identify a problem, because you need blue noses for blue clowns.
Yeah.
And all the noses right now are red. All right, Matt, same question.
Same question for me.
You're young. You're interested in the space.
Yeah. So how it changed for me actually was I've got a 6-year-old daughter, and when she was born, I was thinking about. So I've been in fintech for 20 odd years. I had my first company when I was 23. Did that for 10 years. I run a fintech now called iPushPull. Been doing that for the last 6 years or so. But then I've then started helping out a lot of mentoring young people and helping young people, because I didn't have any help myself when I started off. So that was one kind of core thing for me. But the other was actually when my daughter was born, I was thinking about what's the world going to be like when she's 20, 30, 40? What technology is going to be there? Like what you were talking about, like looking beyond, using your imagination. That day when some super quantum computer in the sky is telling us what to do, and and improving our lives in a good way, or if you've got general artificial intelligence that then means that humans no longer need to do certain types of jobs. What's my daughter going to be doing at that point in time? So I started thinking about what's the convergence of those technologies in 10, 15, 20 years time, and how can I start embracing that and thinking about it myself now, but also how can I kind of lift up the stone and kind of pull up the rock and see what else is under there, and help other people appreciate that as well. Because one thing I've noticed when I've been mentoring is a lot of young people kind of get brainwashed in academia. That's why I really like your comment about don't let school distract you from learning, because I feel that as you go through academia, you start off looking in the UK at least, you might have like 10 GCSEs, then you have 3 A levels, then you do a degree, then you might do a master's, then a PhD, and you're getting more specialized each time you go through that. Whereas it should be the other way around, right? Like you said, and like even your journey, you're working in Department of Defense, then you're working in Google, then you're working in somewhere else, but you pick up all these skills along the way, and you never quite know when they all might come together again, and it could be now, could be in the future. So I think those different things for me is that, like, I agree with what you said, is looking at your curiosities and what's the overlap between those, and then suddenly something will jump at you, like the clown with the blue nose. It'll suddenly just hit you one day, and yeah, I get, and maybe is that kind of what happened for you when you kind of saw CryptoKitties and the NFTs, but then actually you said it was forget about profile pictures, it's all these other use cases where it's actually the idea and concept of it has been around for hundreds of years, right? But actually you can now program it, and because you can program it, you can make it composable, and you can have all these little building blocks that can start unlocking new things and novel ways of doing stuff. And that's what I find really exciting, but it's kind of telling other people about it, which is why it's great to talk to you, right? Because you're doing a similar thing, and I think the more people that are shouting about it, the better.
Yeah, for me, the nugget, the blue nose for me was NFTs for supply chain. So putting serial numbers on more things that you buy to make sure that they're not fake, and to somehow maybe track them a little bit and just see, what is actually for sale. What are the ingredients in the food that you're eating, stuff like that.
Yep.
I think we can do a little better job. Not changing the whole world, but just a small part of a lot of the world.
Yep. Fantastic. So I think let's wrap up. I mean, I would say there's some fantastic, useful, actionable advice, as well as some good background knowledge about this industry and NFTs and technology. There's lots of good advice for young people who are looking about and thinking about the future. And the fact that NFTs actually have been around for a very long time, it's just now there's a slightly different wrapper on what's something that's been around for centuries. Going forward, if people want to reach out to you, I know you said about community, going back to your Linux days and open source and community, and I know that's important for you, and it's important for anyone who wants to learn about stuff, right? I know that you have your own kind of community that you run regularly as well. How can people access that and get in contact with you?
I'll give you a link in a moment, but this is called Community Service Hour. So NFT Web3 Community Service Hour. We meet every Tuesday, 6 o'clock New York, 6 p.m. New York time. And it's just a public call. We take questions from anybody. Technical, we will review the smart contract, what's wrong with it. If you get hacked, customer support. If we want to discuss soulbound tokens, are soulbound tokens good for society or bad for humanity? We'll talk about that for an hour. So we look at this from all different angles, once a week, 1 hour.
Fantastic.
On Twitch and Twitter.
Yeah, great. We'll for everyone that's listening, we'll share the link to that in the comments. So to wrap up, William, thank you so much for your time today. And Benjamin, thank you for being an excellent host.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Bye-bye.